Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker, Master and Apprentice, chosen by fate, destined for conflict. 14-year-old Anakin Skywalker is strong in the ways of the Force. His lightsaber skills are exceptional, and his piloting is legendary. He should be an ideal Jedi apprentice, and yet, there is so much he still has to learn. It is up to Obi-Wan Kenobi to teach him these things. But on a mission to a planet threatened by a toxic disaster, Obi-Wan and Anakin are separated. Anakin and 3 other apprentices, one of them his rival, must work together in order to survive. Anakin's instincts are clear. But are they right? Anakin Skywalker's destiny will determine the future of a galaxy. These are the events that form his fate.
the Padawan Library, the Star Wars Junior Novel Podcast. I'm Levi Paratic. With me, as always, Tim May.
Oh, it is I. How you doing?
Off to a. I'm doing good.
How you doing?
Just mainly working, doing some reading, mainly reading these books. You know, the usual, and that's it. How about you?
You know what? I've been awake for a long time.
Oh, a sleepy Tim today.
48 hours, baby.
Ooh.
Or something like that. I've been up. I stayed up most of the night last night. I slept for like an hour.
Wow.
I'm shocked. Well, I had a test and a paper due in the same class.
Oh.
And the paper was on something unrelated to what I had to study for the test. So, and I had about 200 pages at least to read for the test. So, I'm confident I passed the test. I felt like I did very well. And the paper is fine. It's solid. It's about movie theater management in the 30s in Philadelphia. Pretty cool paper, I gotta say. Interesting stuff.
Now, what class is this?
This is Pennsylvania history.
Ooh.
Which is I'm enjoying the class, but it is by far the hardest class I've taken since returning to school. Just because it has the most The thing is, I returned to school to become a history teacher, and most of the classes they require future teachers to take are just like pretty basic like intro classes. Mm-hmm. So like I've been able to sleepwalk through most of those, and while all the little kids around me whine about how hard they are. But this one is like a real class. Like I've had to write like 6 papers. And the tests are like all written, which is fine. Like I'm learning a lot. It's very interesting, but it is. I forgot like what a real class is in some ways, because all these overview classes, I'm like, oh man, this is so easy. But it's like I haven't taken a class like this since my freshman year of college. So like I'm taking like American politics right now. I sleepwalk through that class. I have an A. It's not a problem.
Well, you sent me a message this week about something your American politics professor said.
Oh, right. My American politics professor directly referenced, like, quoted at, like, the no confidence in Chancellor Valorum line, like, direct. And he's, like, in his 50s. Like, we're talking to, like, a guy... I mean, I guess, you know, I'm just saying, I'm glad he made, like, a non-Democrat dismissive prequel reference for a guy in his 50s is impressive.
Well, he sees the politics in the prequels, and he respects them, so...
It's true. How's Sally doing? I see your cat walking around.
Yeah, she's trying to walk around all on the keyboard right now. She's getting into all... She wants to go outside, so she wants to go for a walk, you know.
So, and so what I did, because, like, I a couple days ago, I was just thinking, like, I have all this work I got to get done for school. How is it possible that I can read the book? Because, like, here's the thing. I knew there was going to be a period, like, say we recorded now, which is Thursday, the night before this episode releases, and I was like, there will be a time between when I finish the test, when I'm done with all my work, when I have to read it, but I'm going to be so exhausted that I'm not going to want to read it. And so I saw that I still had one Audible credit from that, because on Amazon or something. So I remembered, oh yeah, there are audiobooks of the Jedi Quest books. So I got The Way of the Apprentice as an audiobook, which is a 3-hour file, and I listened to it at 1.25 speed, so it was like 240. And it's in my head. I listened to the whole book.
Nice.
So no problem.
I definitely need to do that with one of these books. So.
I mean, the problem is I got it for free. If I hadn't been able to get it for free, like, the audiobooks by themselves are like $12, which I don't want to pay. Like, that's silly.
That's too much.
That's silly. But it was a very specific circumstance that fit for me this week. But
it would be different if it was like an epic novel. But it's still like only 150 pages, so $12 is just too much for that.
And I saw in my Audible app I still have the Count Dooku audio drama that I need to listen to at some point. So, and I'll report back at that. You know what's coming up in a few days is
The Mandalorian.
Is the Mandalorian Disney Plus. Do you have your subscription?
I actually, as we're recording this, I pulled it up. I'm gonna sign up here. When
I did the 1 year, so I'm gonna. The way it works is, I guess, like you get a week free trial, so then it'll charge you for the year or the month. I guess if you're going monthly, it'll charge you a week later. But yeah, I'm doing the year because $70 for a year is not bad.
Yeah. What's it add up to if you do it by the month? I wonder.
Well,
what
it's
the
7 times 12, so it'll be like 96.
All right. Yeah.
Like
the year is the much better price. And so next week, when does this next episode drop? So tomorrow is the 8th.
Next week we'll be able to talk about the first episode.
Yeah, because the second episode will drop on the day the episode comes out, so we'll be able to talk about the first episode.
So yeah, you'll hear our thoughts a little bit on The Mandalorian, and then we'll check in here or there the rest of the year, but I think we're going to do some sort of bonus episode during our break on the full season, I think, is the idea. So.
Yeah. You excited for Nick Nolte as an Ugnaught?
Yes, Ugnaught? I could not believe he's an Ugnaught. I was so happy when I saw that image.
It even kind of looks like him, too.
It still looks exactly like Nick Nolte. I'm like, wow, this, like... I was just blown away. It made me happy. But yeah, getting into the crazy Star Wars times, so very exciting. Got Mandalorian,
we are.
Rise of Skywalker, all kinds of stuff. Books coming out.
I'll be going back to watching Clone Wars soon.
Oh yeah, that'll be available to you.
And in February we'll get the new season, so hopefully
That's
I can
February?
get there. Yeah, I think it's February the new season comes out. So
I didn't know they had announced an exact time.
Apparently, the lost missions are going to be on there too. So I'm going to wonder if they're going to act like the lost missions happened or what. So, but we'll see.
No, they will. Those are just that's just season 6. Those were always canonical.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, that's like. Oh, you mean the lost missions, like the
unfinished episodes?
The unfinished ones.
Yeah, they're apparently going to be on Disney Plus too.
That's good. So. I imagine they're not redoing those then.
Yeah.
So that's interesting because I'm curious how they're going to handle Clone Wars because I watched there was a panel at Celebration a few years ago where Filoni and some went over essentially outlined the rest of the series as it was going to happen back when it was still in production, and that would have been 2 more full seasons the way that he talked about it, but like, and that was interesting. I imagine all that stuff's going to happen, but like there were like he just probably in a slightly more compressed time frame. But because it's what 12 episodes or 13?
I'm not sure actually.
It's
something worth looking up.
Something like that. But yeah, I don't know. I've been very stressed out the last couple days, but I'm now just kind of calming down because I don't have. I realized something on my way home today. I was just like, I don't have any writing assignments the rest of the semester, and I just have essentially the 3 finals in my classes. And other than that, just I have to go to class and keep up with the reading, and I'm good.
Good for you.
Couldn't believe it. I'm like, oh man, this will be a nice, easygoing month aside from all the other nonsense of my life. But yeah, it's fine, So I feel fine.
Things are great.
So
Tim's moving and grooving.
Yeah, it's great. I love it. It just started snowing today too. I know you're in Mr. Texas.
Oh yeah, I'm not going to see snow anytime.
Well, it's
soon.
not. It's not snowing in Erie, I should say. It's snowing in Edinburgh, which is where I go to college. In Erie, it is just raining, so it's great.
Oh, nice,
yeah.
Nice. A big thing in my life is I haven't quite figured out where I'm going to go see Rise of Skywalker yet.
You got to find a good theater.
Yeah, well,
or
there's
trustworthy theater anyway.
Well, there's this one theater. It's in this place called Lake Jackson, Texas.
That's where my brother's girlfriend is from. Lake Jackson.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Small world.
Yeah, wild
well, anyway, you have to go through what we call Dow Chemical Hell.
Yeah, Dow Chemical. I know all about
They're
Dow
big
Chemical.
down here. It looks a lot. As you drive through it, it's miles and miles of factory, and it looks so much like Corellia and Solo. Tie this all into Star Wars. But they have an AMC theater there, and I was really considering signing up for the AMC Stubs program.
Yeah.
But the theater smells like a lot like mildew and cat pee. Like it's not like.
Is that the
nice
closest
theater.
AMC then?
That's the closest AMC, and then if I go into Galveston, Texas, which is also another 20 plus miles away from me, it's about the same distance. It's like a locally owned theater, but I just haven't been there yet to see a movie.
Definitely go see a movie before.
I need to.
AMC, even though they're kind of shitty, you can trust that it's at least a consistent quality level.
Yeah. Yeah, well, the problem with going to Galveston is I have to pay a toll every time I go into Galveston. Man. There's a toll bridge, so it costs me $4.
I can't believe that the Texans allowed there to be any tolls on the road.
I know. And
libertarian freaks.
It's this one bridge that I have to go over, and if I wanted to avoid this toll, I'd have to go 40 miles out of my way. So you just have no choice but to pay the toll. The troll toll.
What's the toll? How
it's
much?
$2 each way.
That's not the end of the world.
It's not the end of the world, but so I was in Galveston this week, but the only thing out at the movies that I was considering seeing was Terminator, which I hear is good.
I've heard. I can't believe anybody. This is the problem. I'm gonna go at some point because the stories that the interview that Cameron gave where he's just there's blood on the wall from the creative battles between me and the director. That just sounds insane. And I love Cameron, even though I don't really buy that he had that much to do with this movie, but but whatever, And he was just my experience with Robert on Alito was great, perfect, and he's just I don't know about this. Basically, he's already throwing the movie under the bus. I can't believe it.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, Grant, Grant actually sent me something.
is a friend of the show.
Yes, friend of the show.
He actually listens, doesn't he?
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
And he sent me a photo.
We should have him on the show sometime.
We should. I should have done it whenever I visited him recently. But he sent me a photo. Cinemark has Star Wars cups, and one of them is Rey's lightsaber, really Anakin's lightsaber. You should check those out. Maybe get some of those.
All right, maybe I'll buy one. I buy stuff at I have a Cinemark as my local theater, unfortunately, and they're trash. They're the only major theater chain that doesn't have a subscription service yet. They need to fucking get on that.
I agree.
But anyway, I do buy merch from them fairly frequently because they mark it down so quickly. I got like an Alita T-shirt right after the movie came out. I mean, that was going to get marked down no matter what, of course, because the movie, unfortunately,
did not do well.
Did okay. Hey, if Fox weren't owned by Disney now, I bet there would be a sequel. They made like 450 or something worldwide.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they would have been like, okay, let's maybe, but Disney's like, that's not good enough for us. Not that it probably isn't good enough. They probably did not make the money back, but whatever. If Pacific Rim can get a sequel, then why not Alita? Why not Alita?
Why not? Well, Alita's great. The movie's good.
I love it so much. Anyway, but I got that. I got I got another shirt, some other junk shirt. I buy lots of stuff from Cinemark, so maybe I'll grab a cup. I might wait till the movie's been out for a few weeks.
Yeah, a little closer.
Because they mark that stuff down so... Like, I got the Alita shirt. Guess how much I paid for the Alita shirt?
I'm going to say it was probably $20 new, so I'll say...
15 probably.
Oh, okay, all right.
That's what the shirts are usually.
If 15 is usual, then I'll say $8.99.
$2.
Holy shit! How do you even make money on that?
I got it the day I saw Captain Marvel, which, guess what? I saw both movies and the world didn't end, for all you losers. I do like Alita more, but it's like, that's neither here nor there. But
no shots at Captain Marvel, but it is not a 5-star movie,
not a 5-star.
A certain friend of ours thinks.
Oh yeah, I forgot we have a friend who gave it 5 stars. One of the funniest things that's ever happened. We don't need to get into that, but oh man, you know what? We've been rambling here. We don't really have much to say. There's not we're in the calm before the storm as far as Star Wars goes. There's
next week we'll be talking Mandalorian, just like every other Star Wars podcast.
Yeah, but like no other Star Wars podcast, we'll be talking about the Trial of the Jedi.
That's true.
So, and like no other Star Wars podcast, when we come back, we'll be talking about The Way of the Apprentice. Is that right?
Yeah, that's the name.
That's right. I'm looking at the book.
Yeah, I have not been impressed with the titles of these books so far, but we'll get into that when we come back.
Okay.
Stay tuned.
Bye. Welcome back to Padawan Library. I'm Tim May, here as always with Levi Peretic.
Hello.
Hey, it's time for the first official book in the Jedi Quest series.
Book number 1.
Number 1, The Way of the Apprentice by Jude Watson. There's a couple things I want to talk about. You got some cover notes. I got some cover. I have one cover note or design note before we get into the book. I just want to talk about the back cover.
Oh, I have some fun factoid about this. So you go ahead and start with this back cover.
So the back cover has a kind of it goes from Jake Lloyd to Hayden Christensen. And you know what? It's like an Animorphs cover, is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And this is from 2002. Animorphs was slightly past its prime in terms of peak relevance, but still a dominant series in this exact market.
Mm-hmm.
There's got to be an Animorphs podcast, isn't there? There must be.
There has to be. I would think so, right? Come on.
What, 54 books plus spin-offs? That's wild stuff.
And a TV series too.
The TV show is whack.
Well, first off, I love how it's just it's a gradual blend into this photo of Hayden. It's not like his outfit changes. If you look, Anakin's lightsaber slowly materializes on his waist.
Oh, I see it, yeah.
But what will blow your mind here is that the one artist of this book, these covers have had 2 artists, Alicia Bulow, and maybe, and then David Mattingly, and David Mattingly is the artist for the Animorphs covers.
Oh, he is? That's funny.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah,
so there is a connection here. That's why it is
they are both scholastic, I guess. It's just funny that they went with the Animorphs thing. You wanted to talk about the main cover, and let's talk.
Yeah. Well, this cover here, a classic early Photoshop job. Anakin here he looks like he's painted because he's not a photo. They're trying to do like a blending of him and Lloyd here. I think he's holding the wrong lightsaber.
He looks much closer to Hayden, I have to say.
Yeah. There's not a whole lot of Lloyd there.
Which I guess makes sense because he's, 14 in this book?
Yes.
So it's 5 years after. So we're like halfway between.
We're getting very close to Hayden. And then he is winged on each side by 2 Jedi who, if you look very closely, are both promo photos of Obi-Wan. They are the same photo, just mirrored. And then they photoshopped human heads on these. So whereas Hayden is illustrated, these heads are photorealistic on these. And this looks like a novelty photo that you would get like at Disney, where it's like, oh, I want to be put into I want to be a Jedi, and they just Photoshop your head.
The girl Padawan looks okay. I'm not saying it looks great, but it looks okay. The little boy Padawan in the bottom right corner is like one of the worst Photoshop jobs I've ever seen.
It's because he's smirking. He's he's too smiley.
His head is at the wrong angle. It's it's not good.
It's really not.
Not
and
great,
I had
Bob or Alicia.
I had a suspicion that these were both David and Alicia. So I tried to look up photos for them. It is definitely not David, who the other guy is. I have no idea who he is. But I'm going to post on the social media to see. This may be Alicia on the cover. I'm not certain.
I mean, if she looks like a teenager. I imagine she's not working for Scholastic as a teenager.
She's older, but it could be just...
Could be an older photo of her?
They're very close. Yeah, it could be her. But yeah,
maybe it's her daughter.
Maybe, I don't know. But I'm assuming that this is the girl Jedi is. I can't ever remember the names in this dang book.
Too many new characters at once.
There are so many new characters. Okay, she must be Dara Theotania.
Yeah.
Dara, and I'm assuming the other one is True.
Yeah, but wasn't True an alien?
No, I don't think so.
I thought he was described as an alien.
Well, what we will get into on this is, thanks to Wikipedia, I have discovered that all of the Jedi Quest books have Japanese covers, and they all have original artwork that are much better than these book covers, in my opinion. And this book cover, the Japanese version, has depictions of all 4 of the Padawan Jedis. The Pada Jedis in this book. So there's so we get a look at Furris, who we will definitely be talking in depth about. Furris. Is that his name?
How did you call Ferris? Is how the audiobook man said it.
Okay,
I should say I'm sorry. Ferris. How Corn's Jonathan Davis said it.
Ferris Bueller, we'll refer to as. And then, I don't know about you, but I am very excited to talk about True, because True is constantly spitting truth. Left and right.
So true. God. That's the true. Where my Cloud Atlas head's at. This book, again, we're kind of just getting into it with the new format, and I promise in the next couple of weeks we'll have a more clean version of this. But this is going to be another messy one, I think. Because to be honest with you, I didn't have any time to take any notes because I was on the bus when I.
And I took notes, but my notes are just I read a chapter and then just wrote down bullet points of what happens.
Well, then that works. That'll keep us on track. Just keep that open, and we'll talk a little bit about it. But this, again, like I said, Anakin is 14 years old at the beginning of this book. So he's been at the temple for now 5 years, because he's 9? Yeah. He's 9 in Phantom Menace, right? Mm-hmm. So we're 5 years away from Phantom Menace, 5 years away from Attack of the Clones, the direct midpoint. I'm a little surprised it starts that late. The previous the hardcover, The Path to Truth, that book I think he was, 12 in that book?
12, yeah.
So this is 2 years after that.
Yeah, Anakin's very well established in the temple at this point. Not that he's well established. He's still struggling. And, we'll just get right into it, because in the beginning of this book, the prologue, it's Anakin's 14th birthday, and it's revealed to us that Obi-Wan gave Anakin the Force-sensitive River Stone that Qui-Gon gave him on his 13th birthday. So he's passing it down. He passed it down to Anakin. He says, "This has brought me great luck. It was always there in my time of need. There were some great moments in Jedi Apprentice with that rock, and now Anakin has it to get him through."
And we're going to talk a lot about Anakin being Anakin later on in the book.
Yeah, he's very Anakin in this.
He accepts the rock graciously, much more graciously than Obi-Wan accepted it from Qui-Gon back in the day. Because remember, Obi-Wan was like, "Ugh, he just got me a rock. Who cares?" Like,
I was expecting a robe. Like,
but Anakin's like, "Oh, this is so meaningful." Like, it's actually one of the few moments with Anakin in The Way of the Apprentice where he's reasonable and kind, I would say.
So, but now it's his 14th birthday, and Obi-Wan has only one. There's a gift that he wished he could give Anakin, and that is he wishes he could give Anakin a friend.
Oh, and
because Anakin has no friends.
Here's the thing: Anakin, he sneaks out at night, goes down to the underworld of Coruscant, all that stuff, and Obi-Wan knows it's happening. He knows it happens, but he's like, "I'm a cool master. I'm a cool guy." So he doesn't stop it from happening. He just doesn't want to know about it. And Anakin, when he's down there, he runs into our boy that we just mentioned, True, who is another Padawan, who has, I believe, just been taken on as an apprentice. Correct?
Yes. He is True of Veld, Veld, and his master is Rai Gal. Is that how Corn's pronounced
Davis?
Jonathan Davis.
Ragal.
Okay.
Ragal.
He doesn't do a whole lot.
He doesn't do a lot. We're not going to talk much about him. But True, we will talk about, because that's the true. And gosh, I'm never going to stop saying that, guys. So they get together, and they're like hundreds of levels below the surface. And Obi-Wan's trying to contact him, and he's like, "I know where he is," basically. And then they run into some beasties. There's a bunch of beastie stuff. We don't need to go into it.
They fight over a motivator, because they're both trying to secretly repair droids.
Yeah, they both like droids. They both like repairing stuff. So they start to become kind of friendly, like actual friends. And then Obi-Wan calls them back to the temple. True covers for Anakin, says that he's in his room, and Obi-Wan's like, no, that's fake, but whatever. And then they get back, and Obi-Wan's just like, if you were up all night, you wouldn't be ready to go on a mission tomorrow. And he's like, "We don't have a mission tomorrow." He's like, "Well, we are meeting with the council, so hey." And so they meet with the council first thing in the morning, and the council explains that and 3 other Jedi teams are going to... What's this planet called?
They are going to... Let's see here. They are going to Randor. And the reason they're going to Randor is because a toxic cloud was accidentally released, and people are dying left and right. And because of the planet is in chaos, because many of the government officials just pieced out. Anybody who had a transport has gotten off the ship. There's panic, there's anarchy, and the Senate is quickly mobilizing to send transports there. But first they're going to send the Jedi teams to deliver medicine and then see that the evacuation goes smoothly. So that's the mission. And should we talk about our Jedi teams?
Yeah, who's all going?
Okay, well, we got Rai Gal, the master, and his Padawan is True. We have Soara and Antana. And her Padawan is Dara Theotania.
Well,
and this is
Sayara. I believe it's Sayara, right?
That could be, yeah.
And Dara.
Yep. And then we have Suri, a returning character, and her Padawan, Ferris Olin.
Yeah, Ferris.
And, Ferris.
Bueller.
Okay. Ferris. But Ferris is the popular kid. Things come easy to him.
Much like
a
Ferris
lot like
Bueller.
Ferris Bueller, and things come very easy to him. And he's got all the friends. And Anakin doesn't buy it. Anakin is always a little skeptical of Ferris, and Ferris is always a little skeptical of Anakin. So we have some rivalry going on between these Jedi students. But all these characters here are Jude originals.
Yes.
She's created all of these characters. She's not afraid to do world building. This is her world. So yeah.
Indeed.
What do you?
Yes. And so I apologize. This is great podcasting. Anyway, totally visual thing that just happened. Anyway, they get there and all this stuff, and they have to, and essentially, in order to deliver the medicine, they need to cross into the infected area, and so
but there's only so many biosuits.
There's only 4 biosuits, so the 4 masters decide to go in quick and deliver them. But when they get in there, they realize they're told you actually can't go out because we don't want you contaminating people. And they're like, we have biosuits on. They're like, oh, doesn't matter. So the Padawans and the Masters are separated in different parts of the planet. Crazy stuff.
Yep, and we got 2 characters, their brother and sister. They are Curry and Galen, and they owned and operated a research lab that accidentally released this toxin, which was being developed as a bioweapon. And if you hear some pitter-patter going on in the background of my audio, it's because it's raining, and I live in a tin box, and that's what it sounds like. So anyway...
It is what it is, it's fine.
Curry is in the isolation zone.
You get the podcast for free!
We
pay to make this podcast.
It costs us money. We don't put any real effort into our sound equipment. So
it is what it is. We still sound better than some pseudo-professional podcasts. I'll say that. No actual professional podcasts, but we sound better than pseudo-professional.
Yes, right. The people who are really trying. See, we don't put any effort into it, and that's why it comes so naturally to us. That's why.
Oh yeah, that's great. That's great.
So anyway, Galen, not to be confused with Galen Erso, even though they are both scientists.
My boy from Catalyst.
Yeah, Mm-hmm.
My boy from
great character from Catalyst.
From Catalyst and only Catalyst.
Yes, and then
Robot is
so anyway, they owned this research lab. Curry did the financial end. Galen was the actual scientist. This bioweapon got released. It infected this one city. That's the isolation zone. And the other city where Galen's at is that's where all the crisis is happening, because everybody died in the other city because of the toxin, but now everybody in the other city is just well, when's the toxin going to get here? When are we going to die? When is the transports coming? And because there's anarchy, there's raiders who have these prototype battle droids, and they end up battling these battle droids, and the Padawan team, there's a struggle for who's leading this Padawan team. That's, of course, Ferris and Anakin.
Yes.
And
Anakin acts like a big old bitch this whole book.
He is a big old bitch this book.
Holy crap.
I'm going to actually just say it now. I did not love this book. This book, there was a lot going on in this book, and a lot of stuff that was just not great, and Anakin is the biggest issue in this book because...
Well, we'll talk more about it. I didn't necessarily have a problem with the book. I get that. I kind of was surprised that Jude decided to go straight in on Anakin, basically make him present his most unlikable qualities in the first book. I was a little surprised with that. I don't think that. I don't think that's wrong. Like, you do have to kind of show... Anakin's pretty likable in Path to Truth.
Right. And when he's with Obi-Wan too, it works too. But like when he's like on his own right now, like because he's still just becoming friends with True, but like he is so hostile to Ferris. And like Jude is not shying away from this fact that like yes, this character becomes Darth Vader, but like the way she's presenting it, which I actually like the way she's presenting it, is the fact that here is this boy who grew up a slave and faced all this hardship, and then he saw evil, and then but he comes into this basically a private school and is told, oh, you need to just forget everything that you already know and accept all of these traditions, all of our thoughts. And Anakin, being a teenager, is like, well, he's taking in the lessons, he's knowing what the lessons are, he's knowing what he's supposed to be thinking, but he can't break that thought pattern of what he grew up in. You know, that's when you're a child, you're a sponge, and that's what he absorbed. He absorbed the abuse of Watto, and he has seen that, you know, he has come from that, so he like that's why he can't break away from that. I don't know. I do admire that about Jude's depiction of Anakin. So
yeah, getting back to the plot quick, we can kind of just go through this quick. I don't think we need to go through it step by step. Basically, the Padawans and the Masters are separated for the whole book. There's this struggle. Obi-Wan had told Anakin that they should, you know, go and, you know, just monitor people, patrol the streets. But, you know, Anakin wants to investigate, and so ultimately he does kind of win out, even though Ferris is kind of like, we should follow our orders. But eventually what happens is that and the other big thing is there's another planet, a nearby planet. What's the other planet called?
Avon, and an Avon representative, not to be confused with the makeup company. An Avon representative has offered to the Jedi. He said, "Well, there's rumors going around the Senate transports aren't coming, so we will have a bunch of ships ready to go. You give us the go, and we're coming." And immediately the Jedi are just like, I don't know about this character.
And so the other big factor there is that was it Curry, Steph Curry, the sister,
the basketball player.
The sister and her brother Seth Curry, and by that I mean Galen, not Galen Erso. Sorry, I'm confusing our entire audience. Not that Steph Curry's obscure. I just went through like 50 different word associations. Sorry.
Yeah, it's understandable.
Okay. Anyway, so
I got it.
But anyway, so Curry and Galen are. Curry never wanted to sell any of the lab's products to. What's the planet again?
Avon.
To Avon, because she viewed them as colonizers. Direct quote. Very cool. And then they're just always fun. And then there was, but the dispute between her and Galen. Galen thought like, well, we sell to anybody else in the galaxy. Why are we against this one group of people? So that's that. Basically, at a certain point, they find some sort of there's somebody behind in the quarantined area that isn't affected by the virus, and Curry's able to isolate that, and they realize that it's a passing thing. It's not nothing.
Yeah, it has a half-life.
Yeah.
So like the people in the other city aren't actually like in danger because the danger of the toxin's like already over, but like the public doesn't know that. Why didn't Galen know that? And like they also the Jedi actually give permission to the Avon representative to land their ships, which they are like immediate like, oh, maybe this is a mistake, and turns out it is a mistake because the colonizers they want to invade and take over the planet. You find out that Galen made this backdoor deal with them. They threatened him. So they were the ones that released the toxin. He was in cahoots with them,
and so basically, when he reveals that the people who figure out what that stuff out about Galen are the Padawans, and that's through a bunch of stuff where it's Anakin and Ferris just arguing the whole time, and it's presented as a two-sided thing, but really Anakin is in the wrong almost every time. If not the wrong plan, that he presents it the wrong way every single time. Which I thought was an interesting way to go with that character.
Yeah, because he gets hung up on these raiders. Like, they're supposed to, like, just observe, protect people, and, like, but he's just like, these raiders are bad news, we gotta take these raiders out, like, and then, like, he ends up convincing them, and of course it turns out to be, like, a bad idea, but it's just, like, one bad idea after another. I mean, so basically it all works out where it's, like, the communications are being jammed. The Masters and the Padawans can't communicate. The Masters are heading back when they get cornered in a canyon by the battle droids, and then the Padawans rescue them. Anakin and True save the day by taking over this battle droid transport ship that saves everybody, and they put Galen in jail. They stop the invasion. I guess it's the happy ending. The best of an ending it could be.
The thing that basically happens at the end of the book is that Obi-Wan's been really worried about Anakin the whole time, and which is nice. He kind of was realizing how much he cares about Anakin at this point. And he's also dealing with Siri, too, which is that they had a very combative relationship in the Jedi Apprentice books. And, like, now they're kind of more friendly, and I got a little Qui-Gon Tall type vibes, just saying. Maybe it's just because Jonathan Davis of Korn just read their interactions in such, like, such a flirty way that I was kind of like, this feels flirty, but maybe it wouldn't have read that way on the page. But, regardless, that's it. Obi-Wan's kind of tracking through the whole thing, and at the end, let's go ahead.
Well, one interesting thing with the Suri thing is, like, Obi-Wan is very, like, Suri can tell he's nervous about Anakin, like, the entire book, and she keeps asking him about it, and he basically keeps lying to her, and then she reveals, too, that, like, she worries about Ferris because, like, everything comes so easily to Ferris, and one day, like, a real-world problem is going to, like, present itself, and he's going to fail, and he's going to have to deal with that failure. So, like, she has some worries, too, and, like, that exchange, like, kind of helps Obi-Wan along. It makes him feel a little bit more comfortable. So, and then you go ahead, because I think we're about to talk about the same thing, and I wanted to actually read some of this.
Yeah, sure. What page is that on? Because I again listened to it.
Okay, this is on page 157. There's. Do you want to go do the back and forth reading, like we?
Sure.
Like
yeah,
old
let's
time?
do classic stuff. What?
Who do you want to be, Anakin or Obi?
157. Where are we starting here?
I'm going to start at I'm proud of you. It's towards the bottom of the page.
Okay, let me be Obi-Wan.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like, do you have a good, like, Lloyd/Hayden?
I'll try.
Okay. I am proud of you, he told him. Not only did you act bravely, you worked well with the other Padawans. I heard how you all collaborated on the final plan to rescue us. You have learned a valuable Jedi lesson. You submitted your own will to listen to others. As a result, you gained strength.
I was ready to rush after you to fight the droids, Anakin admitted. It was Ferris who stopped me. He was right. He was also lucky, Anakin thought. The plan almost had gone awry. If Anakin had not managed to blast through the rock slide, 4 Jedi Masters and 2 Padawans would be dead. But no one was bringing that up. Was Anakin the only one thinking it?
Obi-Wan would... Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
You go
ahead.
Right.
Okay. Obi-Wan would say it did not matter. What happened had happened. Jedi did not waste their time on ifs. But Anakin could not look at it that way. The ifs were what intrigued him, the spaces in between the rules. If Ferris had been more lucky than right, his submitting his will would have been the right thing after all. He knew the question was not a Jedi question. He would not ask it of Obi-Wan. It was his question. Only he could find the answer.
So am I right? Do you feel you learned the Jedi lesson of submission of will? Do you understand the importance of the lesson? Obi-Wan asked.
Anakin had stopped himself from giving away his unease. He would not lie to his master, but he had truly submitted his had he truly submitted his will to Ferris? If he had to be honest, he would have to say no. But he had submitted his will to True. Anakin recalled how in the exhaust system of the MTT, he had realized that True should have been the one to lead. He had realized then how necessary cooperation was to the success of the mission. If he had been in the moment, he had truly learned the Jedi lesson. Yes, I have learned the lesson well, he answered. He was happy he could be truthful.
Obi-Wan nodded in satisfaction and turned to board the transport.
Anakin started after him, but Ferris suddenly appeared at his side.
Let me read Ferris here. Sorry.
Okay.
Let me start here.
Okay.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Anakin started after him, but Ferris suddenly appeared at his side. Anakin had not sensed him nearby. It's not the Jedi way to lie to your master.
Oh, neither is eavesdropping, Anakin said, annoyed, and I didn't lie.
Ferris studied him. The sunlight shone on the thick gold streaks in his dark hair. He did not look angry or accusatory, merely thoughtful. You did not tell the truth, he said. You did not truly learn the Jedi lesson. You didn't learn anything. You are like Galen.
That isn't so. Anakin kept his voice steady.
Not so.
And it is not your business. It is my master's business and what I learn.
Obi-Wan doesn't see you clearly, Ferris said softly. He is a great Jedi Knight, but he is blinded by affection. But I see, and I will keep looking. I will watch you, Anakin Skywalker. Ferris turned and strode up the ramp. Anakin had to stop himself from hurtling after him and tackling him to the floor. His body shook with rage.
Take a breath, then another. Anakin willed his beating heart to slow. Slowly, the red mist before his eyes cleared. I will watch you too, Ferris. And if there's a battle between us, I will win.
Okay, so yeah, the book. We don't need to quite get into the final thoughts, but I would say the things I found most compelling in the book were definitely the Obi-Wan series stuff, and even though it was frustrating in a lot of ways, the Anakin Ferris stuff I thought was really interesting. The planet plot is a pretty stock Jude plot. Like, she loves having like two worlds that are at war with each other, and I'm not like criticizing her for it. You know, whatever, it works. It's like a functionary plot, but all the new characters are new Jedi characters, and like Anakin and Obi-Wan didn't really meet really compelling characters on the planet, which I thought was my main issue with the book. But I would say that I do like a lot of the new Jedi characters. Specifically, I think True is like a lot of fun. And I assume he's going to be like Anakin's best friend throughout most of this series. But I thought his rivalry with Ferris was a lot more compelling, honestly, than the Obi-Wan Bruck rivalry, even though we love Bruck here on the show.
We do, and I like that they're kind of setting up a rivalry. That Jude is setting up a rivalry for Anakin. That's a good idea there. That's a great idea there. So, But yeah, Furris, he's the golden boy, but Anakin knows deep down in his head that he's the golden boy. Like, Anakin believes so much in himself, and he's so torn with fear over will he be a great Jedi. Like, Anakin has so many issues.
Yeah, Anakin is a lot, and obviously that's accurate to the character, and I like that the books are kind of, because like, this is my issue with a lot of people. Let's talk about this actually, because the people a lot of people who do love like Clone Wars, we were just talking about that a little bit earlier. A lot of them, they'll praise it by saying it gave me the Anakin I wanted, that I didn't get in the movies, because a lot of people think that with episode 2 and 3 that Anakin is so immediately kind of unlikable, and that's a problem for them. For me, and again, a lot of this is just that I watch these movies all the time, and I just now like know them so well. So I'm not sure if this is like a real like qualitative statement. For me, I kind of like how like much of a little shithead he is. And I do appreciate the Clone Wars giving you the other side of that, where he's like a genuinely heroic character through most of that series. But I kind of like that you see kind of the like his issues are very much at the forefront right away. I think we got a very sympathetic portrait of him in the last book, because it was all about kind of his past as a slave and everything, whereas this book is very much about his kind of about his anger and all that stuff, which is very difficult to deal with. But I think with the bedrock of that slavery part of it, I think it's actually that's something I feel like is not talked about enough in terms of his personality. This is a kid who grew up as a slave, had to leave his mother in slavery in order to follow his own dream, and like is always going to blame himself for that. Like that's a real like difficult thing for any character to deal with, and I think while that's maybe not at the forefront of how the character's portrayed in the films, I think it is actually. I mean, obviously the emotional climax of Attack of the Clones is him avenging his mother's death, so it is there, and I think people just don't like the execution of it, but it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And I think these books so far, I think have painted a fairly complex portrait of Anakin, which I appreciate.
I do too. I really appreciate it. And like, what I think is interesting here is like, how Anakin has this classic in Clone Wars, his classic interrogation technique where he gets all in people's faces and threatens them.
Yeah.
Well, he does that in this book to Galen. He tries that because Ferris is trying to interrogate Galen, and he's just being all nice about it. And then Anakin steps in and pulls in his his technique, which in Clone Wars is one of my favorite things. I don't know if I've ever mentioned. I'm sure I mentioned this on here before, but anytime Ahsoka does anything that's very Anakin-y, like in terms of like interrogation or something, and she's around like another Jedi, and they're just like, "Where did you learn that?" And she's like, "I learned it from my master." And then they're just like, "Oh."
I love that. Why isn't there a series of books? It's canon now. That Clone Wars is canon. This is just a tangent. You mentioned Ahsoka. There's the one young adult book they made that takes place after Clone Wars, after Revenge of the Sith. There is then 15 years between that and when she shows up in Rebels. Like, give me like a series of books of this length about Ahsoka. Like,
I would love that.
That would be incredible.
People would buy them too.
Yeah, it'd be huge. I mean, maybe they're holding out to like maybe do just a new show or something, but I don't know.
Maybe. I mean, who knows how she'll get, where Clone Wars will take her, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, well, we know she survives.
Yes,
because she's in Rebels. So, which I'm not spoiling it for Levi. He watched season 1 of Rebels a while ago.
Yes,
so
I know.
He knows that she shows up. Anyway, so all right.
But yeah, that would be perfect because like. we have so few series in the new canon like these type of books.
There's really only the
200
one.
pages
It's really Adventures in Wild Space. That's it,
yeah.
right?
And they're new characters, and like it's a boy girl, very similar.
Galaxy
we
of
haven't
Fear,
read them
maybe?
yet, but it reminds me of Galaxy of Fear. So
I mean, they might be good. That's something to look forward to, maybe. But I just
and something else I just realized too, not too long ago too, is like we had this book was in between. These books were after episode 2,
right.
But after Revenge of the Sith, like we didn't have like a Clone Wars series other than the TV series.
Well,
you know
no, they didn't.
Like,
because they just jumped ahead. Last of the Jedi came out after, but
so Jude doesn't cover that
Boba
Clone
Fett,
Wars era.
Boba Fett
That's
takes
true.
place during Clone Wars, and we're going to probably cover Boba Fett. I would imagine in between this and Last of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Would you?
We should. Continuity. You know, which interesting. Boba Fett has 2 writers. One did the first half of the books, and then another person came in to finish the.
There's
books,
6 books.
There's 6 books, so I think it's 3 and 3 by the author.
That's perfect.
So
We could just fill that in right there.
Yep. So that'll be fun to talk about the differences between the two. So.
Oh, there's the 2 Jude Clone Wars books too. The Secrets of the
right.
Jedi and. What are they called?
Legacy of the Jedi? Yeah.
Yeah. So, and we'll cover those also.
There are two.
We have to decide
titles. There are too many titles in this book series, and it's like Way of the Apprentice, Trial of the Jedi, Path of the Jedi. Like
there's a lot. Isn't there like generic. Last week I think I said that book is like one of the best books we've read. This, and I think you largely agreed with me.
Yeah, I gave it a 10. You gave it Conceived of Midi-chlorians. I only held back on that because
you want to give the
series
series
where the series can go. Yeah,
series room to move. But this is a step down. But it feels like already the series is like in it. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't feel like a first book. I'd be curious about like if I was a kid and I was like, oh, I can pick this up as the first book. It's like sort of introductory, but like it feels like a pretty direct sequel to that book, and it involves a lot of characters from Jedi Apprentice and references to that also. So it feels like just in the flow of the series. It's just kind of a middling Jude book for me, but. What are your general thoughts? I've been talking a lot.
It's the same. This is not as good as that last book. We were very hyped in the last book as to where we were going with this, and this was just kind of like there were too many characters in this book. In my opinion, that was one of. I took some notes in here. Too many characters, but there are good characters in there. But there's also a lot of moments in this book where characters are like, I wonder if this is happening, and then like moments later it's like confirmed. Like there's no like real suspense in the story. The story is like the characters have suspicions, it's all confirmed. They're like, oh, an invasion's happening. Well, it's like, and then it's like, oh, we'll stop the invasion. Like there's no real suspense in the story at all. Like it's in the overall plot, like I don't think it's all that memorable.
Yeah, as far as the character thing, I'm sure I'll probably enjoy all these characters at some point. I just don't know if they need to introduce all of them at once. It could have been 3 Jedi teams.
Yeah, because you could have left off, what is her name, Dara?
Yeah, she didn't really
She didn't do a whole lot of anything, yeah.
Yeah, I know she might be a character that's cool, like, later on, but she just... Like, Ciri wasn't in every Jedi Apprentice book,
Right.
So...
Yeah, Ciri's only in a couple books, and the only adventure Ciri really goes on with them in Jedi Apprentice is the Path for Truth or whatever that was.
It's a bad one, but it's fine.
It's the school one.
Yeah, it's a bad book, but their relationship's fun. It's just the book doesn't work. But I don't know. I don't want to I don't want to sound super harsh. Like, I'm probably my final score on this is probably like what 6.5 or something.
Yeah. I'm going like 5. I don't think it's like it's better. Like, there's 2 books in Jedi Quest not Jedi Quest, Jedi Apprentice, where that's that relearning one and that other one with King Frayne or whatever his name is, the evil tyrant who stays in power and they're just all right with it. Those are like this is either on par or maybe a little better than those. Just because we have the character Furris and the character True. So,
I think it's better than those. Like, I think some of the new characters are really good, and I think it's a weird thing to have Anakin and Obi-Wan separated for the entirety of the first book, basically. Mm-hmm. If you look back at the Rising Force, the first book, that became a standard like kind of structure for the Jedi Apprentice books, that you'd have like an Obi-Wan story and a Qui-Gon story. But the first book, I think they're together for most of it, or their actions are very related to each other in a way that these felt. Yes, they're like working towards the same goal, but like they felt very separate. Yeah.
So, but I'm hoping in the next book we'll get them together. If you give this 6.5, I'll give it 6. We're in agreement as usual.
It's fine. Books. We don't argue about these books. We only argue about things that aren't Star Wars.
Yes, exactly. I agree.
That's what the brand is. This is going to be one of our shortest episodes.
I'm fine with that.
That's fine. So. That's not a shot at the book, really. We just didn't also have anything to talk about in the front part of the episode. Yeah. I want to, before we wrap up, though, I would like to say that I am very. I have to say, Jonathan Davis of Korn, the reader of these audiobooks, does a very good job. Very entertaining. They put music under it and everything. He's a very solid reader. I listened. He also read Master and Apprentice, which I had to listen to parts of. For similar reasons, and I thought this was, and I just think he does a very good job. His Anakin was kind of funny. Oh, I didn't mention. They mentioned how Anakin doesn't like sand at one point.
Yes, they do. That's very funny.
That was already iconic. Like when this came out in June of 2002 or something.
Yeah.
So very funny. And then But I one thing, I hope that Siri is a huge part of the series in general. I would like to I'm not rooting for Obi-Wan and Siri or anything like that. Like, not the way I was with Qui-Gon and Tall anyway. But I just like their relationship a lot, whether it becomes vaguely romantic or not.
And it would be interesting too with the two of them getting along and their Padawans being like out to get each other.
Yeah,
so I think that would make a fun dynamic.
Hope the next couple books really expand on that. And I've always said this, and it's not going to happen, but these books, I feel like there could be a book that just takes place at the temple and there's no conflict. Because there's other than between the characters,
Well, I mean, Mace Windu would just be like just giving people sass left and right. Like, did I tell you? Am I talking to you? Like,
I love Mace. Oh man, so
overrated.
Well, I love him. It is what it is. In the meantime, next week we are covering, what's the name of the next book?
The Trial of the Jedi.
The Trial of the Jedi.
Let me see here. I don't think this is actually like I don't think they're going to be put on trial here. Not from the description of the back of the book. I have.
Oh, here it is. I see it. Okay.
Yeah, I have read the first chapter in this book, and there's some Jedi Apprentice references in this beginning part of this book.
Oh, very exciting! Very exciting.
Jude is not afraid. Like what's interesting with sometimes with Star Wars books, I feel like people are like too afraid to expand, like make their own characters, or they just want to play with existing characters. And Jude has like no fear in like making her own characters, fleshing out her own characters, and then referencing her own universe. So
oh, I love it. I mean, listen, like, obviously the books are on a new name. There's a new naming cycle and stuff, but these books are numbered. Like, you buy Jedi Apprentice number 17, then like get over it. You're gonna get references to other books. Anyway, so yeah, next week we got Trial of the Jedi, and we'll talk a little Mandalorian too next week. So very exciting. But in the meantime, please remember, rate, review, subscribe to the show on Apple Music, or not Apple Music, Apple Podcasts, and Stitcher and Spotify.
Subscribe on YouTube.
Yeah, you can subscribe on YouTube. There's all kinds of places to do that. We got 4 more Jedi Quest books the rest of the year, and 2 other books, and a movie review. So we got a lot of stuff going on, yeah,
it's exciting times, even though we have no excitement in our voices.
Yeah, listen, we're both tired. It is fine. But next week we've got tons of stuff going on.
Yep. So, Trial of the Jedi until the books are due back.
Library is closed. Padawan Library is hosted and produced by Tim May and Levi Peretic. It is edited by Tim May. Our theme song is by the Astral Project. Our artwork is by Freddie Funbuns. Padawan Library is copyright 2019 by Tim May and Levi Peretic. All rights reserved.